Hey, what is up, guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. We have a mysterious new report to talk about today. They have found this, what they are calling as a mystery sound that has been detected in Canada's Arctic Ocean. Now, the first reports of this I started getting yesterday on the 3rd. That was put out by the Weather Network, where they go on to describe this strange sound that has been detected off of Baffin Island. Now, news reports have said that local hunters from the nearby community of Igloolik describe the sound as a, quote, ping or hum, apparently coming from the seafloor in the Fury and Helka Strait, which is a narrow waterway that separates northern Baffin Island from mainland Nunavut. Several people claim to have heard it this past summer, including passengers aboard a yacht in the area and several callers into a community radio show running a segment on the subject. According to CBC News, the noise has been a very serious problem for area hunters who say that it's scaring away fish and wildlife. You're seeing a map here of where this sound is being heard. And now we have a second report that the Canadian military is probing this mysterious Arctic pinging noise. This time after a report put out by the BBC, and I will link to this down in the video description. So it goes on to say the Canadian military is investigating a mysterious pinging sound coming from the seafloor in a remote region of the Arctic. The strange noise is reported by local people to have frightened animals away over the past few months. A military aircraft conducted various multi-sensor searches in the area, but the military says that it is so far unable to explain the cause of the, quote, acoustic anomalies. A spokesman for the military went on to say that, quote, the aircraft crew did not detect any surface or subsurface contacts. This is really strange, and it's not like the military is going to admit to the public anything that they find anyway. I mean, they never do. And I'm sure if they had it their way, there would be no public reports out, period, talking about this mysterious pinging noise, which we have heard this before. This has also happened in the Atlantic Ocean, and I've heard of other reports of it happening in the Mediterranean. The sound that's happening here in the Arctic, according to locals, have said that it's even been heard through the hulls of their boats. Where this is located is also the least populated territory of Canada, so they're quickly ruling out that it is man-made. Now, in reference to all the wildlife scattering, the locals have gone on to say that this is one of the major hunting areas in the summer and winter because it's an area of open water surrounded by ice that's abundant with sea mammals. And they went on to say that, quote, and this time around, this summer, there were hardly any, and this has become a very suspicious phenomenon. Another local who is familiar with the wildlife has said that this area is normally a migratory route for whales and various kinds of seals, but this summer there were none. And that's a direct quote. There were none. So, yeah, this is really strange. It's, one of those strange, stories that, usually you'll have someone come forward within the first couple days, usually, and find out the cause of the mystery. But, the military saying they have no idea what it is. Either they're telling the truth and they really don't know, or they have found out what it is and they're simply saying that they don't know, which they have done countless times before, especially in the UFO field and phenomenon. How many times have you heard the military deny that an event happened or denied whether something was a legitimate unidentified craft and instead say it was swamp gas or a weather balloon or something like that? So there have been various explanations for the sound, that it's possibly being caused by military submarines, although there have been no reports of military submarines in that specific area, nor would there be a reason to. It's an isolated area, and there's just no reason to have military subs in this part of the ocean. Possibly coming from a nearby mining company, but again, If this were the case, I guarantee you, they'd be on top of this. They have no idea what the hell this thing is, so a lot of people have been emailing me about this. There's also talk of, this is possibly coming from a source deep in the ocean. Obviously, they said that it was on the sea floor. Could be a USO, or an unidentified submerged object. USOs are not a new thing, especially in this research. We've done videos on them in the past. There is a large portion of UFO sightings that come and are witnessed by people who are out on the ocean, who have witnessed craft, discs, moving underneath the waters, out in the middle of the ocean, entering these underwater caverns like the one we found off Malibu. We have had witnesses personally attest to seeing these craft coming up and blasting up and out of the ocean water and jetting towards space, and vice versa. And we've talked about this before. I mean, our oceans, 90% of our oceans are undiscovered, uncharted. I mean, think about that. Only 10% of our oceans have actually been touched or explored by humans. The rest of it, we have no idea what's there. And let me tell you guys, there has been a lot of strange phenomena that has happened underneath the waters. I know we talk a lot about space and whatnot, but you know what? We have a giant area of water on this planet that has its own mystique and mysteries. So, half the time while we're looking at space, there's a lot of reason that we should be looking right here on our own planet. Now, speaking of the Arctic, we've talked before about Operation High Jump, which occurred in 1947 when Admiral Richard E. Byrd led 4,000 military troops to Antarctica. So this is at our southern pole, but it goes along with the Arctic, which is at our north pole, because this admiral and his troops went down to Antarctica and were attacked by flying saucers that were seen coming up from the water, from the icy depths, and were also seen blasting toward the North Pole and the Arctic. Now, we've done videos on Admiral Byrd before, but if you don't know, all you got to do is simply Google Operation High Jump and or Admiral Richard E. Byrd and find out what he did and what happened. It's one of the most infamous stories you'll ever hear, and it provides a lot of evidence to just what is underneath our ocean. Now, on to some UFO sightings. I want to show you guys some very mysterious photographs that have hit the web today. One of them has been sent to me. This was just sent to me earlier this morning. This was captured in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And the source of the photo, Mr. Jerry McCullough, said that a couple days ago he had stepped out. It was about 6 or 7 o'clock. The sun had just gone down, and he noticed this, beautiful pink sky. He took out his DSLR camera and snapped a few pictures. And like many of these cases, later on, he went in and was going through his pictures of the images, and he noticed in one of the pictures there was this small black dot. And, what he originally thought was just a bird flying by. It's obviously pretty far in the distance. However, when he blew the photographs up, and, these are very high resolution, coming from a Canon 70D, which is actually a very expensive DSLR camera. It's one of the best you can get. And he noticed very quickly that this was no bird. So you're seeing the full image here zoomed out. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. And you'll see that this is definitely no bird. It's what looks to be a black saucer or oval shaped object. We can see the light, what looks like some of this pink reflective cloud being reflected down on the top of the object. And then you also notice, once you look closely at this thing, whatever it is it has 3 distinct lights underneath it on the bottom, undercarriage, that are in a perfect triangular shape. So let's go ahead and increase the brightness and contrast to see if we can bring this out a little bit more. Alright, here we are. We're zoomed in here. We've got the contrast and brightness increased, and this has definitely brought out the detail in this thing. Just wow. Look at these 3, they look like lights. 3 lights. They definitely look to be glowing in the original photograph. The bottom of this object is in complete darkness and shadow, and yet we can still see these 3 little illuminated objects on the bottom, so they're definitely glowing, definitely lights of some sort. You're seeing the enhanced version here, which gives us a much better view of the bottom of this thing. We definitely see there's some structure to it, and we can also see this, what looks almost like a dividing line on the top of this thing. And, I mean, look how spooky this thing is. This is definitely no bird, no kite. It doesn't look like any drone I've ever seen. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This thing looks alien. And it was captured in the skies, again, over Hershey, Pennsylvania. Could this possibly be an alien craft? We've captured these things before. We have, I mean, come on. We have seen ships and craft traversing our skies. The only question is it coming from off-planet, or is this some sort of secret military testing? Now, there are some military bases near Hershey. There's a National Guard base, an Air National Guard, a U.S. Army Reserve. We have Fort Indiantown Gap. We have bases for the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Coast Guard, auxiliary. So there's a lot of bases surrounding this area. So could this be some sort of secret drone technology? I don't know. But what I do know is it's nothing like I've ever seen. It fits the description of the typical saucer-shaped UFOs that have been seen throughout history. We've seen them in our oceans, we've seen them in our skies, we've seen them above Earth, and we've even seen them on the moon. So I will leave it up to you guys. Big thanks to Mr. McCullough for sending this over. You know, this reminds me of the TR-3B, which also has a triangular set of lights on its undercarriage and a light in the center. This is a little different, but nonetheless, it gives us something to compare it to. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Another strange picture that's been featured online, it was submitted to MUFON, is of this image here. The description for the image says, and I quote, "As I was hiking with a large group of people in a mountain called Lubitin 2498 in Kosovo." So this is near Russia. He says, "I made some zoomed photos of people hiking near the ridge of the mountain. After I came back home and I looked at the photos, I saw several pictures with what appears to be a golden orb hovering around some of the hikers." He says that there were around 230 hikers that day and nobody noticed it. So here's the full zoomed out image. The source has put this little arrow here toward this golden orb, as he calls it. And here is the zoomed in version where, yeah, we definitely have, that's definitely an orb. I mean, definitely an object of some sort. We'll go ahead and zoom in even further here. I have no idea. What do you guys think? It's definitely reflective. Sunlight's reflecting off of it. Yeah, we've got these hikers standing around, but none of them seem to be looking in the general area of this object. Mountain Ridge in Kosovo, that's all the info we have at this point, but, you know, it's just another strange occurrence. And, you know, this object, it does look to be hovering. It doesn't have any sort of motion blur, as if someone just quickly threw up the ball and then took a picture to make it look like that. I mean, you know, it doesn't look like that. It looks like this object is just sitting there still. And none of the hikers around it seem to be concerned with it or look like they had thrown anything or, you know, anything like that. So, yeah, very strange. I'll leave it up to you guys. This is strange stuff, you know. Now, lastly, we have a new finding by our fellow UFO researcher and friend StreetCap1. We'll put the link to his channel down below. He has found what look like some artificial structures on the moon. Now, you're seeing a clip from the video he posted here. I'll put the link to this image. You can look at it for yourself down in the video description. And we have two objects that he's found here, both of which contain various right angles, structures that have these sharp right angles that just, you know, don't blend in with the rest of the surroundings and the rest of the rocks. Here we have the first, what looks like a base, and notice it looks very different from many of the other surrounding rocks. We have a circular object here on the bottom. We have what looks like a arm coming out of the right side of it, and, you know, it's a perfect right angle. Comes out to the right and then turns upward. So it's like a perfect L shape. And then down to the right of this structure, we have a second structure, which again, if you look on the bottom of it, on the bottom and to the left, again, we have more of these, what look like pipes or corridors that again are in perfect straight lines, make these, these sharp L-shaped patterns, which, you usually don't see with rocks on the moon. And again, we posted a video yesterday talking about the moon and all of the anomalous structures that have been found on it. It would not surprise me if this was a base. We're showing you the two images here, the two still images from the video. You guys can go down and check the image yourself. I definitely think that StreetCap has found something here. And yeah, there's tons of structures all over the moon that just do not look like they belong. They look built. They look artificial. And we're talking buildings, we're talking things that look like giant satellite dishes, towers. In yesterday's video, we featured some images that NASA had blurred out, where they had found objects and then airbrushed them so you couldn't see them. Giant objects sitting in craters. We've had towers that have been blurred out, so a lot of stuff there. And yeah, kudos to StreetCap. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, what do you guys think of this strange pinging noise in the Arctic? Leave your comments below. We will follow these stories as we get more information. Alright, so be sure to stick around. I've got a ton of emails I have to get to. Lots of new UFO footage, things we're going to be featuring on the channel very soon. So if you've sent me an email, rest assured I will get back to you. It's basically first come, first serve. So I'm going through footage. Look out for our next video, and I'll see you guys back real soon. Stay safe, guys.